The third section in this module is your basic counseling skills. So this is the meat and potatoes of the module. We'll go through them one by one. As we go through, I want you to remember the acronym OARS first. This will help you remember all of the different skills, and it's a helpful mnemonic. The first one, O, is for open-ended questions. We want to use a lot of open-ended questions to get the camper to elaborate on their experience. This helps you understand what's going on, but also as the camper is explaining how they're thinking and feeling or what's going on for them, they're organizing their thoughts around it. And with that greater insight, sometimes de-escalates the situation and the emotional reactivity of what's going on. So this is as opposed to closed questions that require like a yes or no or a one-word answer. Those are sometimes helpful for getting specific pieces of information to act quickly. You might notice a lot of emergency situations require this type of questioning, but we want you to really slow down and ask whatever questions you need to get as much information from the camper, both again, so you understand what's going on, but also that they have an opportunity to organize their thoughts about what is really going on for them. You might ask questions like, how did that make you feel? Then what happened? Or can you tell me more about that? All of those kind of require them to specify a little bit more information. And as they're doing that, they might elaborate and it may kind of get them to connect the dots in certain ways. We want to be careful not to ask any leading questions, whether they're closed or open, just because we don't want to make any assumptions on where that camper might be going in their thinking or how they might be feeling, just really non-judgmentally and neutrally asking open-ended questions. The A is for attending or active listening. So being in the company of someone else and giving that person your full attention is really important. Listen to what they're saying and how they're saying it, showing them that they're valued and that they're worthy of having your attention is really important. So we talked a little bit about posture before. I'll go a little bit more in detail about that. So as we're speaking with someone, it's good to sit squarely meaning kind of have your shoulders square to them, so they don't see that maybe you could be distracted by anything else, that you're giving them your full and undivided attention. You want to sit with somewhat of an open posture. So, don't close yourself off or, cross your arms. That almost creates a visual barrier between you and the camper. So somewhat open, maybe with your hands to your side. You might even want to lean forward a little bit, showing greater interest and investment in the conversation. It's helpful to make eye contact. Now, there's a little caveat here. Not everyone is great with eye contact, and sometimes people find eye contact somewhat intimidating. We do have campers that come in with like autism spectrum disorder, and sometimes eye contact is really intimidating for those people. So use your judgment. I would say in most cases, some solid, not, obviously crazed, like fixed eye contact, but casual, direct eye contact is usually the best way to go. But if you can see that it's actually adding discomfort to the situation, then you might mimic kind of the level of eye contact that you're getting from that camper. So it might only be a little bit. And then the little times that you do catch each other's eye, and if you are talking through it, maybe little by little, they get more comfortable with that. Again, use your judgment. But as a rule, or not a rule, but as like a general consideration, eye contact can help foster that level of connection with most people. You want to also maintain somewhat of a relaxed attitude, or a relaxed way of holding your body. This is to mirror that despite the situation feeling very intense or triggering or emotional, that you can maintain a sense of being kind of calm, at some ease, being able to take on this information and understand what's going on, as they see you not getting overly reactive or meeting or joining them in kind of that really heightened state. they start to come down and it just de-escalates the situation a little bit better. The R in OARS stands for reflecting. So reflecting is basically restating what was said without adding or subtracting to the meaning of what was said. And it conveys to our campers that their experiences are understood and valued. Now, a lot of paraphrasing, you repeat and you feed back what you heard, but a version that's in your own words that makes it your own. So the spirit of it and the point of it is conveyed, and you show that you really get it, but maybe you say it in your own words to show that you're not just repeating it back like a robot, that there's a human being that's really understanding what's going on. And I would say try to make it somewhat brief, just a little anchor to show, I hear you, I see what you're going through. So you might start sentences like, oh, okay, it sounds to me like, and then repeat something back in your own words. Or what I hear you saying is, and again, don't use their exact words. You might start a sentence like, it seems as if, or I get the sense that, and that can go a long way. And a lot of times once you make that reflection, either they'll continue to elaborate, they'll say, yes, and they'll keep going on kind of why that's important or in depth about, more to what you've said. So it just promotes greater elaboration and communication. The S in OARS first is summarizing. So this is condensing or crystallizing the essence of what the camper is saying and feeling in general, and focusing on the main points that emerge throughout the conversation. So where reflecting and paraphrasing happen throughout the conversation, summarizing usually happens toward the end, where you make certain comments about what was brought up throughout the conversation, what you've learned in the process, how you're kind of making sense of it to help the camper make sense of it. So in essence, it reinforces what has been said, it shows that you're listening carefully, and it helps organize the camper's thoughts around things. So OARS first, the F is for focusing. When counseling, you may need to narrow down a camper's concern to what can be dealt with in that interaction. And I think we've had the experience of being with someone who's quite emotional, and it seems everything's wrong. Now in this new lens that they're looking through, everywhere they turn, something is wrong or hurtful. And a lot of times, and we don't want to, minimize the degree that they're upset about other things. But if we can kind of sense that the core concern is one thing, that we try to keep them refocusing back on what's actually distressing them, rather than just getting distracted and compounding the problem. So create a space for a range of concerns that are arising for the camper, but then concentrate on what some of the central issues are and bring their attention back every now and again, so they don't get overly distracted or too focused on things that might not be the core issue. The I is for immediacy. So this is a skill of focusing attention on the here and now, so on the immediate present, and the relationship that you're having in that very moment. So you might reveal how you're feeling in response to that client. So they're not just in their head thinking, feeling, spinning, whatever it is, but maybe reflecting about what you think and feel in that situation to make them realize, oh, right, I'm in the here and now with another person. Some of those comments can be really helpful and help them get out of their head and into the moment. We really want them to get a sense of mindfulness and groundedness through your interaction. The R is for rapport building. So this is a form of bonding with the camper. You might use what you know about them and what you know about yourself to find a common ground. If you have common interest, you might use certain metaphors that have to do with, like, if they're into sports or dancing or whatnot. You can shape the way that you use language and your comments to them to be at a level where you have something in common. And that could be really beneficial in rapport building. If you don't have anything in common, that's okay. Just leading with that warmth, that calmness, and showing that you really care will gradually build rapport with the client as well. The S is for silence. I know it sounds like, but we're supposed to be talking to them. The use of silence is really important in counseling, actually. You may need to be silent to give the camper enough space to share or control the pace of the interaction. You also may listen to silences in the camper as well as their words, just seeing what's sitting with them and figuring out, okay, where are they lacking words for things, and how might I help either fill in the gap and help them understand that, or just ask an open-ended question around something like that. So it helps them think through the situation a little bit better. So, allow silences so they can fill them. Allow silences for pause. That also helps both you and the camper realize that you are in the here and now, that it doesn't have to just be this kind of spiraling conversation that is at this massive pace. Like sometimes pause is just to take a breather is really helpful. So allow the silence and normalize that it's okay even if they don't need to talk and they're just emoting, they're just maybe a bit tearful, give them that space and that silence. Don't think that you need to fill it to pick them up or make it better. In counseling, we're not trying to fix anyone. We're really just trying to be with them as they go through what they're going through. And at the tail end of it, they usually feel better supported and reassured that they can get through it. The last one, so the T in the ORS first, is tone of voice. So with your tone of voice, you want, again, to convey a bit of calm collectedness. You also want to convey interest and concern for the camper. So it's up to you what you think is appropriate. I mean, we all have different quality of voices, but try to pay attention to the tone and try not to escalate or get your tone too heightened to meet theirs. Try to bring yours down, dial it back. If you can, avoid using like a shocked or disbelieving tone of voice. And a lot of times that sounds obvious, but a lot of times it's not intentional. So I guess what I'm saying with tone of voice is try to focus and bring your attention to the tone of voice that you're using, so you don't accidentally slip into a tone of voice that might be interpreted as equally shocked or dismayed and that kind of thing. Not to say that a bit of shock isn't helpful in certain situations to show the gravity of the situation, but you'd have to be intentional on why you're using that tone of voice. So those are your core counseling skills, ORS first. So if you need to repeat this video back and focus on one of the ones that maybe you thought was unclear, and yeah, I hope those really help you in speaking with and interacting with our campers.